Was there sex on the train?
Oh, of course. You know what I mean? Where there's music, there's sex. Don't worry about that. They go together like horse and carriage.
What was the strangest pairing I think you
Well, I
witnessed
think the strangest pairing
on the
was
train?
was Janice and Marmaduke. You know, Janice chose Marmaduke from the New Riders of the Purple Sage was this tiny little
I
guy
know
who, you know, almost
smidgen.
about the same size as his guitar, and Janice decided that he was the man for the moment and everything, and off they went and had a wonderful time together, and everybody was suitably jealous. But the funny thing is, is like with Janice, for example, when she hung out around musicians didn't used to hit on Janice.
No,
You know what I mean?
you didn't.
She was one of the guys, really. You know, Janice would hang out there and get shit-faced drunk. Nobody took advantage of her. You know, everybody loved her. You know, and it just was a wonderful, wonderful time. And I remember, I mean, I address it in my book, and I won't, spoil it for people who are going to read the book, but. And the Calgary gig that we did, there was a cake was produced. I can't remember now whether it was for Janice's birthday or for the end of the whole trip, but anyway, a cake was produced that about 200 trips were put on the icing. Somebody covered it all in acid.
Oh, dear.
Everybody ate the cake, including a bunch of cops from the Calgary Police Department. And I didn't, I was blissfully unaware of all this, you know what I mean? I saw people eating cake and I had a bit. And the first thing I noticed was Janice was singing away, and the sun was sinking over the rim of this stadium. And there was a cop standing right behind the amplifiers on stage, and I saw him take his hat off and put his hat down beside him. And then he kind of loosened his tie and took that off. And then he took his shirt off, and then he took his gun off. He actually took his gun belt off and he laid it on the stage beside him. And he was getting ready to boogie. And I looked around and there were like 4 cops in the backstage area, and they were all dancing with these hippie girls, you know what I mean? It was like, hang on a second, what's going on here? So, as all this is going on, I'm like picking up on what's happening. Like 3 police cars steamed into the backstage area, screamed to a halt, didn't have their sirens going, but they were, and this giant sergeant got out with all these fresh policemen who immediately like corralled all these guys who were having fun. And marched them off, and I thought, oh, what's going on here? So I followed up on it, and the sergeant took all these cops, into like underneath the stadium, where it was obviously like a what do you call it?
A holding pen?
A holding pen, yeah, right. And I could hear him telling them, and I told you guys not to eat anything or drink anything, and these poor old cops are sitting on these hard benches under the like fluoro lights, you know what I mean? Being given the full treatment. So maybe it didn't end so happily for them.